Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, hope you are fine with the grace of Almighty Allah. Today our topic is formation of shadow in different circumstances. As you know, in our previous lecture we have discussed how shadow gets formed, what is actually the shadow, what are various conditions that are essential for the formation of shadow, and what is the nature of shadow. Today we will discuss the formation of shadow in different circumstances. As you know, the nature of shadow, the shape, the size, and the brightness of shadow depends upon certain things. First of all, the type of the shadow depends upon the source of light. Whether the source of light is extendable source of light or it is very point source of light. Number second, it depends upon the objective. Whether the object is bigger or it is smaller. That means the opaque objective. That block is the source of light. And number third is the screen on which the shadow gets formed. It depends upon these things. It also depends upon the relative position of this source of light, object, and the screen. As you know that if screen is moved towards the objective, towards the opaque objective, the shadow that gets formed will be very smaller. If this screen is moved away from this objective, the shadow that gets formed is very bigger, is we can say larger than that of the objective. It may be fainter, as you know, as we take this screen away from this objective. Now let us discuss the shadow that gets formed by the point source of light. Point source of light means we have to receive very small amount. We need very small amount of the light. How this is possible? For example, we need here, torch. We need here any type of the object that should be very opaque, and we need the screen. For example, this is torch. As you know, the torch from which light comes, it having bigger we can say this glass. So we have to paint this glass with black, or we need the black tape. We have to adhere the black tape on the screen, and we need a needle which is used to get this pin size object hole, so that the light comes from this hole. Very small pin size hole is here. Then we on the storage and we switch on, then the light comes from this hole. It is actually very point, and it falls on the ball, and then the shadow of this ball gets formed on the screen. When the point source of light is used here the point source of light, we have just here the point light comes from this point. Actually the very minute hole, light comes for, and it falls on the ball, and we observe that the shadow gets formed. The shadow that gets formed is very darker. It's very darker, we can say deep, and there is no amount of light is received by this shadow. It is very darker, and there is only one region that is called umbra. As you know, in previous lecture we have discussed that the shadow is having two regions. One is called penumbra, and another one is called umbra. Umbra is that region which is very darker, which receives no amount of the light, whereas another region that surrounds the umbra, that is called a penumbra, which is very fainter and that receives some amount of the light. Here the type of the shadow that is formed is umbra. It is very darker, but no amount of light is received by this region. It is only one region here, only one shadow that is called umbra is formed. No amount of light is received by this. And the shape of the shadow, that is the umbra. The shape of this shadow is same as that of the ball, but it is little bit bigger. It depends, I told you that it depends upon the screen, whether the screen is brought close to the objective. If it is brought close to the objective, then the shadow that gets formed will be very smaller. If it is taken away, the screen is taken away from this objective, then the shadow will be larger. It depends on the relative position of the screen, whether it is nearer to the objective or it is far from the objective. If it is near, then smaller the shadow is very formed, and if it is taken away, if it is very far from the objective, then bigger shadow will be formed. Here we have seen only umbra is formed when we use point source of light. Number second, if we use the extended source of light, here I write extended source of light. Extended source of light. Extended source of light. It means that the source of light is much bigger than that of the point source. Extended means bigger source of light, but it is not bigger as we can say that it is bigger than the objective. It may be bigger than the objective, but it may also be smaller than the objective. But it is extended source of light is always bigger than the point source of light. So we use extended source of light that is much bigger than that of the point source. Here I have just remove this point source. I just make this bigger source of light. Then you will see that more light will come from this bigger sized extended source of light. Now this acts as an extended source of light. Same I think happened, but I make this hole. That was point size of hair hole. Now I have removed. I make it more than point size. It may be 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter hole, 3 centimeter. Then you will see light will come from here. Light will come from here, and we will if we observe on the screen, then you will see that another part of the shadow gets formed, that is called a penumbra. Just I have it drawn here the diagram again. You will see this is penumbra. This is the region is called penumbra. Penumbra is that region of the shadow which receives some amount of light. Again, I have kept the same object here, but only the size of the from which we receive the light, it is much bigger than the point size object. More light comes from this now, and when more light comes from the object and we observe on the screen, now two regions of the shadow. One is called umbra and second one is called penumbra. Penumbra is that region which receives some amount of light and it's very fainter, whereas the umbra is that region which has some amount of light. Which doesn't have any amount of, it doesn't receive any amount of light. It is very darker, and penumbra is very fainter. But if we move the screen away from this object, you will see the umbra region is very darker. It gets smaller and smaller. It gets smaller and smaller. It gets smaller. But the region that is penumbra, which is here smaller, when we use this torch, we use the extended source of light. This penumbra, which is smaller than the umbra, if we take this screen away, if we take this penumbra gets increased. It gets increased. But if it is placed in the exact position, it is not if it is not moved away, it is not too much near, but it is exact, we can say at a certain position, certain distance from this object, then we will see that the penumbra is smaller than the umbra. Always when we use the points, this extendable source of light, when this source of light is smaller than that of objective, penumbra that gets formed is smaller than the umbra. Umbra is that time always bigger than the penumbra. Remember this when we use extendable source of light, but extendable source of light should be bigger, it should be smaller than that of the object. Then we reach two regions of shadow gets formed. The penumbra region will be smaller than the umbra, and umbra is always bigger than that of the penumbra. Now, number third case is if extendable source of light is again used. Extendable source of light is used, but I will write here when source of light is bigger. When source of light is bigger than the object. Here it was source of light was smaller. Source of light was smaller than object. Now in third case, the source of light is bigger than that of the object. Now here I will draw this diagram again. Source of light should be bigger than that of the. Now again I will draw here the diagram. This is the torch again. This is torch. This source of light. I will write here torch. This source of light. But you will see that the light comes from this bigger source of the light. That the light comes from the bigger source of the light, and then that of the object. The source of light is bigger than that of the source of the. Here, once again, sorry. The source of light is much bigger than that of the object. You will see that the region that is penumbra, the shadow gets formed on the screen, but the penumbra region is bigger than that of the umbra region. See once again, when the source of light is much bigger than that of the object, shadow gets formed, but the penumbra region, will be more bigger than the umbra region. Will be more than the umbra region. Here the source of light is extendable source of light, and source of light is much bigger than that of the object. The shadow gets formed. Two regions are formed. Number one is umbra and second one is penumbra. But the penumbra region is much bigger. It will be more bigger than that of umbra region. Now, if this object is brought very close to the source of light, then the shadow will be very smaller. If this object is taken away from this, we can see, if the object is taken away from, if the screen is brought towards, if the screen is brought towards the object, then the shadow that gets formed on the screen will be smaller. If the screen is moved away from the object, then the shadow will be bigger. But the penumbra region will be much bigger, and the umbra region will get fainter and fainter. And finally, if it is taken, the screen is taken more far from the object, then this umbra region will be more dimmer. Finally, it will get diminished, and only the penumbra region will get formed. We will see the whole shadow. It is, fainter shadow. There is no central part. The central part will be not darker. There will be only the faint shadow will get formed. When the screen is moved away from, and the source of light should be, bigger source of the light. That is extendable source of light, much bigger than the object. Only the penumbra region will get formed. If the screen is taken away, the whole shadow will get fainter and fainter. Only that we call that penumbra gets formed. Hope you have understood all these things. If you have any query, you can call me. I have already given you a number. Thank you. Nice.